Had somebody talking to me not long ago about her sister having a baby. She says, while I'm happy to have a part in his life, I'm very scared for the damage that will happen that I'll have no way to stop. So, a bunch of unhealthy people in her family. She'd been learning from the last symptom, starting to see what sorts of messages we communicate in our attitudes and behaviors. And now she's looking at her family, like her sister here who's had a baby. And she's thinking, oh my gosh, my sister is going to transmit all these messages to my nephew. I'm scared about that. Nothing I can do about it. I can't stop it. She says, I know I can do my part as his aunt, but I can't raise him to know that he can be afraid if he's afraid, sad if he's sad. I can't raise him to know that he can talk to an adult if he's feeling a certain way. And all these things. And speaking about the last symptom, this show you're watching or listening to, she says, I find so many people around me could really use this show, the information in this show, but have absolutely no interest in actually working on themselves in any way. They just want to complain and declare that this time they will be different, I swear. And here's what I said to her, and by extension, I would say to you, mind your own business. Mind your own business. Now, I'm not saying that to be rude, and I'm not saying it out of anger. And certainly there are finer or softer ways that I could say the same thing, but that's what it really comes down to. It really comes down to minding your own business. That doesn't mean to say that we stop caring, that we just don't care at all. We're not emotionally invested at all in our family members and our friends and things like that. But at the same time, it's important to remind ourselves that our caring does not grant us rights, responsibility, or authority over other people. Our caring does not grant us, for example, in this case, in her case, the mother has certain rights as the child's mother, but you as the aunt do not share those rights, and you might even care more than the mother does. It still doesn't grant you rights. Her relationship to the boy is as an aunt, not as a mother. So there's really no sense, is there, in sitting around losing sleep over the fact that you can't educate her son as if you were his mother. Don't have any business occupying your thoughts and your concerns in that way. The answer is acceptance, to let it be. Is it unjust? Yes, it is unjust. But, you got to think about, for example, I was talking about not too long ago, my job as a medical interpreter. My job as a medical interpreter, Spanish interpreter, in the medical field. As I'm standing there interpreting for a nurse or for a doctor or for a surgeon, and interpreting for the patient who doesn't speak English, what would you think of me? Or how effective as an interpreter would I be if during that process I were to push the doctor aside and say, hey, listen, I don't feel like you're doing this right, because I've worked with lots of other doctors and I've seen the medicines that they would prescribe in this case, and I've seen the steps that they would take in this case, and the suggestions that they would make in this case. And so frankly, I feel like that's the much superior way to handle this particular patient, and I don't feel like you're doing it right. So, doctor, you just stand aside and let me take care of this. I'm going to take care of this now. I would no longer be serving in the capacity of an interpreter if I were to do that. Is that correct? I would no longer be serving in the capacity of an interpreter. Instead, what I would be doing is I would be inappropriately, offensively, assuming responsibilities and rights and authority that don't belong to me at all. It would be a failure to see where my job as an interpreter begins and ends. It would be a failure to see where my place in this whole situation is. And then of being content and satisfied to stay in my place and do my job.